Hi, I'm G6PNH Damien. Welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to have a look at Q codes. What are Q codes? Where do Q codes come from? What do we use them for? What do they mean? Plus we'll have a quick look at calling CQ. Coming right up. Back in the 80s, when I took my RAE, we used to take the RAE through night school. So we would go along to a night school for about 6 months, a couple of terms, then we'd sit down, we'd take the exams. Now, you can learn from home, from a book, and you can go online and do the exam online. When we did it, going to college was like going to a club. By the time we got our certificate, we'd done it, we got our call sign, we'd heard that much, we'd listened to that much, we talked about that much, that we're up, ready and running, and off we went. Not quite the same these days, and it's a little bit noticeable that newcomers to the hobby aren't quite understanding everything in the way that we did. Okay, we had a lot of learning to do. You came into the hobby, there's a hell of a lot of learning to do once you've got your license. So here are the Q codes that I often hear people saying, what do they mean, what are they for, what's it all about? So, Q codes, where do they come from? Well, originally they come from using Morse code, or CW. And instead of the operators putting in long lengths of explanation, they came up with 3-letter and 2-letter Q codes. Now, for instance, QTH really means what is your location. So instead of tapping in what is your location, they can just tap in QTH. Job done. Everybody knows what they mean. It's still used today, and it's still used, if you will, as a common language throughout the world. So even when you're talking voice, you're still using the Q codes as a common language around the world. Now we also use them on 2 meters. I mean, you don't have to. You can say, where is your location, where are you living, or you can just simply ask, what's your QTH. It's entirely up to you. However, you need to note and realise that this is a language, and as such you need to say the right words, you need to get the right phrases. So for that reason, and to help you understand it, I've done this little thing of Q codes. Now what I'll do is I'll try and put them down in the description down below for you. And whilst you're down there having a look, can you press subscribe and give us a thumbs up and that bell thing. You can do all that for us. I'll be really grateful. Okay, so the Q codes, here they are. Here's a list of them. I've got them written down here. CQ, that's a general contact. QRM Interference. QRN is noise. QRP Low power. QRT shutting down the station. QRZ, who's calling it? QSB Fading. QSK Breaking. QSL Confirmation. QSO Radio Conversation. QSY Change frequency. And QTH your location. 73s means goodbye, and I'm not saying 73s yet. Right, let's go through them a little bit more slowly than that, and let's try and tell you what they mean. Okay, so CQ. If you call CQ, you are saying, I am putting out a general call for somebody to reply to me. Now, in your license, that is the only general call you are allowed to make. They don't come on going, hi, I'd like to give everybody the weather forecast for today. That is not in your license and not allowed. This is the only general broadcast you're allowed to put out, unless you get a special license to do so, like the RSGB have for reading their news. And you'll notice that the newsreaders will not use that for general contacts, they will go back to their own call sign. So calling CQ, so if you say CQ, 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 this is G6PNH, calling CQ 2 meters and waiting for any calls. Now I'm going to do a little bit more on that in a minute, but that is your general saying, I'm looking for somebody to contact. Next one, what have we got? QRM. QRM is interference, as opposed to QRN, so that's Mike and November. QRM would say, I'm getting interference from somewhere else, maybe from your broadband or one of these LED light bulbs, and I've got terrible trouble with one of these LED light bulbs. It took me about 3 months to realise what the problem was, but it causes QRM, so I turned it off. I'd rather work in the dark than put up with it. QRN, however, would mean that I'm perhaps out on a hilltop and there's wind, so there's a lot of QRN and I can't hear, or you can't hear me. You might tell me there's QRN going on if the wind is blowing across a microphone and you're not actually hearing me. Right. QRP. QRP is low power, generally considered to be around about 5 watts or lower, although I do notice, and I do realise why, the threshold for the QRP seems to be going up. Some people are considering 10 watts as QRP. Back in the day 1 watt was QRP for me, or even half a watt, but with the noise levels coming up now, the power for it seems to be increasing. And the next one is QRT. So when you've finished everything, you're going to turn your radio off. You just say you're going QRT. That means shutting down, had enough, that's it for today. Sometimes people will say that they're going to listen for a little bit, then go QRT. Once somebody's gone QRT, you're wasting your time trying to call them. But if they do say listening first, then go QRT, then you've got a chance to nip in there and just say hello. What do we have now? QRZ. Who's calling me? QRZ used a lot. You'll hear this quite a bit. Now the idea is that if I call on HF, I'll say Golf 6 Papa November Hotel, there's so many people jumping on, especially if it's a contest. How many people jumping on at one go? The operator will pick out something and he'll say the PNH station, QRZ, the PNH station. That means then he hasn't got my whole call sign, so he can't come directly to me, but he's saying, I've got part of your call sign, who are you? It's your turn. Now, what was next? QSB. QSB is fading. So if you're talking to somebody, and this is a good example of what Q codes can help you do. Rather than shouting, oh, you're fading in and out, you're fading in and out, and because you're fading in and out, they're not hearing you properly, and they're saying, well, can you repeat, can you repeat? You can just turn around quite easily and say, you've got QRB. Sorry, QSB. Let's get it right, QSB. Somebody talking about QRT. QSB. It's quicker, it's easier, and it's more understandable. Okay, the QSK. QSK, I hear that very, very little these days. I used to hear it quite a bit in the past. But QSK simply means you want to break in. The norm nowadays would just be to give you call sign rather than QSK. Just give you call sign, just give it once, and let the operator on the other end recognise you. If they don't respond to you, wait till the next break and just give you call sign again. That's the way to do it now. I haven't heard QSK used for a long time. QSL. QSL, it means that you want confirmation of your contact. So confirmation of your contact, particularly if it's a contest, for instance, they'll want to know your call sign and make sure that they've got it right. They may want to know your name, the operator name. Some contestants, they're just not bothered. They'll want to know your signal report, so whether it's 5 and 9, 5 and 5, 5 and 3, whatever. And your location, so your Maidenhead Square. Now, they will, if you're talking to somebody who's in a contest, they want to do it very, very quick, and they're going to turn around to you, and they're going to use the Q code QSL. If they're saying QSL, they want it confirming, so they probably turn around and say, okay, I've got your G6PNH, I've got your grid square as, and you're saying you're I'm a 5 and 9 QSL. Go straight back to them, that's correct, and tell them again, and then you're off. It's 73's good luck and off, and they're off to the next one, because they want to get as many contacts as they want for their contest. They don't want a QSO, they just want a contact. Okay, what's the next on the list? QSO, I've just mentioned that then. QSO, the QSO means a conversation, so you're having a QSO. So this might be used in general jargon, just saying, oh, I had a QSO with such a body, as opposed to a contact. A contact may very well be just a quick exchange, like a verbal handshake, or even a digital handshake if you're using FT8 and so on. But having a QSO is actually sitting down and talking to somebody. Okay, what else do we have? QSY. QSY means I'm going to change frequency. Or do you want to change frequency? So you might hear somebody say, "Shall we QSY?" If you're using a calling frequency like on 2 meters or 70 centimeters, then yes, you will go on there. You'll call CQ, and then you would say let's QSY once you've got a contact. You might even, as you'll see in this example in a minute when we get to calling CQ, you might even give a call out and then say that you're going to QSY and call again. That's very handy for nets. If you're doing a net, yeah, go on calling frequency, tell everybody that you've got to move, start again from there. Next one is QTH. Your QTH is your location, and however you want to explain your location is entirely up to you. You might want to give your Maidenhead Square. You might say you live in the town of, and that is near to or just by, and you may want to give your WAB Square, and so on. There's lots of ways in which you can give your QTH. It's entirely up to you how you explain where you are, but it means where do you live, what's your location, where are you at the moment. So if you're out mobile, your QTH would not be at home, but you might even turn around and say my home QTH is, but my current QTH is, if you're off mobile. Okay, now finally the last one on that list is to wish you 73s, which you see me do at the end of every video. Now, I always wish everybody 73s, plural, and I've always done that since I got my license. And just recently, one or two people picked up and said, it's actually 73. Now, I'm not that much of a stickler. As long as I understand what you're saying, I'm happy with that. For me, it gets, if you're using the wrong codes and doing the wrong things, then I get confused. And I get confused easily because I've been using these codes for over 40 years. So it's not as important really to get it spot on. What is important is that you realise that this is a language within itself and that other people are using it. Listen to what they're doing when they do use it and what they mean. And it's quite easy to misinterpret them, sorry. I understand that. So have a look at these Q codes on this video, and that should help you to understand what people are saying. Now go on to the HF bands, listen to what people are saying, the QR codes that they're using, see if that makes a difference to you. Now, before we finish, calling CQ is another one. And we mentioned all these before in a past video, but calling CQ, one of the things to do is to make sure that you're clear what you're saying when you're calling CQ. Don't say it too quick because people are still scanning the bands. Not everybody sat there waiting on the calling frequency, particularly if you're using 2 meters. They're not sat there listening. A lot of people are scanning the bands and listening to what's going on, and perhaps even sticking with one of the repeaters and then moving on. So just to say it's call sign very quickly doesn't always do it. Have a listen to this, watch this. This is me calling CQ for a net on Saturday morning, and okay, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but it makes the point that it needs to be long. You'll also see that I'm QSYing before I've actually got a contact. Have a listen to this. Hello CQ, CQ, CQ. This is Golf 6 Papa November Hotel G6PNH. Calling CQ for the Calder Radio Amateur Party Saturday morning vertically polarised USB net. Going to QSY to 144285 and give another call there from G6PNH. Hello, this is G6PNH calling CQ for the Calder Radio Amateur Party Net. G6PNH calling CQ. Are there any takers this morning?
G6 and KQ. Morning, David.
Good morning, Jeff. Hope you're well this morning. From G6PNH.
G6 PNH, G6 and KQ. Yes, not bad, David.
So in that video then you saw me calling CQ. We had one taker. In the end we ended up with, I think, 4 of us on, which is not bad for this time of year. Is not bad. In winter we get quite a few more, but while people are off on holiday we don't get as many. It's noticeable that you keep calling for people. If you're doing a net, you can keep calling for people. You wouldn't do if you were just calling for one person, having a QSO with that one person. But hopefully you get the principle in that you need to make it long enough that people who are scanning through the bands can hear you. Don't just jump in, say CQ G6PNH listening. That even if I'm sat there listening, I'll be doing something else. I won't be sat there with my arms folded waiting for you to give a CQ call. I'll be doing something else, and by the time I've realised that you're giving a CQ call out, I've probably forgotten what your call sign was, and then by the time I pick the microphone up I might even be thinking, is there any point? That stage then, if I can't remember your call sign, I will be calling you QRZ, the station calling. And I use that quite a lot when I'm mobile, because sometimes trying to remember people's call signs whilst you're mobile, forget it. And there is one point there that I tend to ask for somebody's name. If I am mobile, I'm not going to remember your call sign, but I will remember your name, so I'll ask for your name, and I'd rather use that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope that's been useful to you. Until next time, I'm going to wish you best 73s, because I've always wished 73s, and S on the end is how it'll stay for me. So best 73s from G6PNH.